Good evening and welcome. I'm Roy Blitzer, and our show is Ask Dr. Business. The purpose of our time together is to provide information and insight that will help make your work life more exciting and satisfying. This evening, I'm hoping you'll take the advice we give, apply it, and make your work world more than you have right now. We're continuing our topic of jobs from home, and we're very lucky this evening to have a delightful guest, an architect who works out of her home in Palo Alto. Helena Barrios Vincent is here with us. Welcome.
Thank you.
I want to remind everyone right away that if you have any questions, please call in. The phone number is 650-856-1491. Now tell everybody a little bit about your background. Where did you study? Where did you learn how to be an architect? Give us a little verbal resume.
Okay. I was born in Uruguay, Montevideo, and
supposedly a beautiful city.
It is. It's by the ocean, so it's really pretty. And at about 18, when I was at 17, 18 years old, I moved to the States, and I had started architecture in Uruguay, but then I finished my undergraduate in the States, and then I did my master's.
I'm assuming you spoke English.
Yes, I did. Although I remember how the first classes, you had to think so hard. It was a challenge. I would end up with a headache at the end of the day. But yeah.
So you studied architecture as an undergraduate?
Exactly, yes.
And then what?
And then in fact, I worked for a couple of years in between undergraduate and graduate degree.
Oh, they say that's the best thing to do to get into graduate school.
Well, and it's also a very good, I think, way to know about the profession before you kind of specialize. So I think it's a good idea to do that.
And then, your first job was?
And then my first job was working for a very large global architecture firm in Washington, D.C., and I worked in a lot of corporate spaces, office buildings, hotels.
Designing them?
Designing, yes.
Did your bilingual nature help at all?
It absolutely did. In fact, one of the great things about that job was that I got to travel a lot.
Really?
So, yes.
You never imagine architects traveling unless you take an assignment somewhere else.
Oh, no. Especially with the global nature now of the, just society, I think it's a big opportunity.
Now tell me how you got to California.
Okay. From DC, where I lived for quite a bit, like 15 years, I moved to the London office of my company.
Wow, so you're still working for the same firm?
The same company, yes.
Wow.
And in fact, during that same time, I helped open the office in Madrid. So it was a fun.
Oh, Helena, you must be very good. You've had a lot of experience working in an office.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay, then what?
And then we moved to California.
With a person?
With a person, yes. It has a name, yes. And I worked at a local architecture firm here in Palo Alto.
Really?
CAW.
Okay, good.
Architects. They do a lot of work for schools and a lot of work at Stanford.
Wow. Well, let me just solicit some input for us. The phone number here is 650-856-1491. I'm here with Helena Barrios Vincent, an architect who works out of her home, and she's now telling us a little bit about how she got to California and got to be an independent, what I would call sole practitioner.
Exactly.
How many years did you work internally?
It's been 11 years that I started my own firm.
And how many years working?
Before that,
Yeah.
it was about 15 years.
You must have been a child.
I was. I started very young.
Well, you look very young, which is
Thank
wonderful.
you, thank
Okay,
you.
so tell us a little bit about working alone.
Working alone.
Did you have client base when you started? Did you just go this on your own?
Well, there was a couple of potential projects that kind of gave me the confidence to start on my own. But I would say the main reason I did it was because of flexibility. At that point, I had 2 little kids, and just to do the balance.
You're the second guest who did this because they wanted to spend more time with their family.
It's the balance between work and family. It's really hard when you work a full-time job out of the house. So from home, for instance, I would be able to go get the kids at school,
Right.
come back, and keep
Parent-teacher
working.
conferences.
Exactly. Or any,
So you've been
performance.
doing this 11 years.
11 years.
Okay, now let's give our audience a typical day.
Okay, a typical day. Well,
A typical work day. How's
work
that? I'll
day,
be
yes.
very clear.
Yes. So we get up about 7 o'clock and get the kids ready, which now it's easier. They're older.
You don't make their lunches anymore.
No, thank goodness, no. So anyway, so morning routine, and they go to school, and I just go to work.
Now, I was going to ask this. You have your own space.
I do. I kind of accommodated the garage.
Okay,
And
good.
made a little working area.
That means you have to get dressed unless you have an attached garage.
It is attached, so it's okay. I don't necessarily have to get off my PJs.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so your work day starts at what time?
At about 8.
Okay.
8 o'clock.
And do you have people obviously you work by yourself, so you
Yes.
have to do everything yourself.
Well, now, especially in the last few years, I've had people that work with me, that help me, other architects or drafters.
Oh, really?
Even on the East Coast.
Wow.
And we do all the communication by email, Skype, So it's good.
So let's say it's 10 o'clock. Do you have meetings? Do you eat alone at your desk? Do you have luncheons and network meetings?
Well, yes.
Because
Usually,
you seem
if I'm
very
home,
gracious and social. I'm always fascinated about people who are extroverted and what they do with all their social needs,
No,
working in the garage by
by
yourself.
myself. Well, no, but I do get out a lot. I mean, I have a lot of meetings to meet with the clients, to meet with consultants, and also we have a group of local women architects.
Wow, that's wonderful. I
It
bet you, are you
is.
an officer of the group?
No. It's very informal. We just get together to have a drink and support each other.
Oh,
So, but that's very useful. Most of us are sole practitioners too, and so it's a nice support system. So,
well, in our prep time, I didn't ask too much, but I gather as an architect, you work by yourself. You may have no one to show your designs to.
that is the biggest challenge of working at home. The fact that you're not able to share your idea or even bounce ideas off. Architecture is a very collaborative business. You need a team, especially for any project of any larger size than a house. And besides that, I mean, you get so much out of the interaction of bouncing ideas off and presenting and saying, am I going crazy here? I'm designing something that it's crazy.
Well, one of the things I used to recommend is to have a problem-solving session. Maybe there's something that's hard to solve.
Exactly. So yeah.
So we're now at noon.
At noon.
Do you go out?
No, I usually just work through. And
when is your day over?
Usually when the kids come home, it depends on the schedule. I take a little break, and depending on the workload.
You do night work as well?
I do. When I have deadlines, which is another advantage. I mean, the fact that I set my own deadlines.
Right.
Instead of when you work in an office, you have to follow,
the rules.
Exactly, and the clients, have their. But that's another nice thing of having your own business. So.
Now, let me just one more time. I feel like the shopping network every time I do this, but I want to remind everybody that we're here at Ask Dr. Business. I'm Roy Blitzer, and our series, the final one of the year, is Jobs from Home. And we're very lucky to have Helena Barrios Vincent, an architect who works out of her house, talking a little bit about her daily routine and her life. We've now just left her somewhat in the evening working at home. When would you finish your day, for example?
It very much depends on how much workload I have.
Interesting.
It could be very late at night if I have a deadline, or just finish at 5, 6, something like that.
Well, we have a phone call. Kathy, this is Dr. Business. How can I help you?
Yes, I was calling. I am curious, Ms. Barrios, how you are able to focus on your work and get the family chaos out of your work day. When I'm at home and trying to get things done, I find it very difficult, and I'm wondering how you manage that.
It's a good question. It helps a lot to have your own space, so you are able to kind of close the door if you need it.
You have a sign that says "Do not disturb"?
No, but that's a good idea. I should do that. And the other one is also to have the self-discipline. And I think the basic thing that you need is you need to like what you do. I think if you like what you're doing, that gives you the discipline. I mean, it's not a chore. A lot of times I feel like my job is not, a job.
Well, let's say you are disturbed by a family matter.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, it depends on how bad it is. If they're blood.
Oh, no.
No, but there's always emergencies, with the kids, or it's easy to take a little break, or to go get.
But you cannot do it in office.
Absolutely, you can, but it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder. The expectations are that you are there all day, so it's very different.
I'm sorry I pronounced your name incorrectly. Did that answer your question successfully?
Yes, thank you so very much.
Well, best of good luck to you and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you as well, Roy.
Take care. Well, thank you. I'm very pleased to hear that, because I was wondering which takes priority. I gather the home life probably wins over the project.
Well, not usually.
Really?
My husband is very supportive, and he does the cooking. Yes,
so
absolutely. So it's wonderful. So when I'm engrossed,
I'd like to marry him.
I know, too late. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sharing. But usually when I'm engrossed in doing something, it's hard to disconnect.
Now, do you think your clients know that you're working from home? Do they have any idea?
Most of the clients, yes, they do know.
Really?
That
And that doesn't take away from the professionalism of your work?
I don't think so, because in fact, it from the client's point of view, is a benefit. I mean, I don't have an overhead of an office and staff and administration, and so I think that's something that translates to the client as well. So I think from their point of view, it's okay. And they usually, most of the residential projects, people are very understanding, and it becomes a very friendly interaction. So.
Well, let me one more time, 650-856-1491. Please call with your questions for Helena. It's fascinating to hear a female architect talk about the demands of a home life and creating projects, etc. I'm not sure if a guy has that same issue. I don't know, but I don't think it may not be quite as the same as it.
I think, yeah, but I think it's changing. I think and I think that this issue is it's an issue in the offices as well now. The lack of flexibility, it's a problem, and so I think they are trying to accommodate that a little bit, and having people have flexible schedules. And
now, you talked about discipline and liking your work. How do you feel about taking a psychology class? I think when you work by yourself and you're obviously running your own business, knowing your customers, what do you think about that? I don't know if they have that in architecture school, whether you have a client-focused customer service training. What do you think?
I think you have people skills.
Okay,
I
that's
think it has to, it's easier if it comes naturally, if it's something that you enjoy collaborating with people. Architecture is about answering the needs of a client, listening, and so it's important to be open.
Well, it's also, I gather, a very creative. Well, what happens if none of your ideas get taken? I think it must be a very difficult situation.
Well, if you, usually you find an idea that satisfies their needs and they like it. So so it's okay.
Which is the most fun, a new home or a remodel?
They're both fun, but the remodel is a lot harder.
Really?
Absolutely,
Because the
absolutely.
windows have to match.
Everything has to match. You're matching a new house. You start from the ground. Everything is new. You don't have to consider anything else. A remodel, you're always trying to meet and you don't know what's behind the existing walls.
Okay, that's true.
And but they're both fun in the different ways.
Now,
So.
tell me a little bit about your particular practice. Modern antiques. How do you sort of position yourself from a larger firm or someone else who's looking for a professional to help them design a house?
I definitely have a style that I like and that I feel more comfortable working, and I think that my clients at the beginning know that and have seen my website. And so it's a very modern style. It's a very simple language, but at the same time, it's very welcoming. It's very warm. And I think some of that warmth is given by the materials that you use.
Really? I never thought about it. I just imagined
Absolutely.
stucco or wood or.
No, well, you
No?
can have a beautiful wood shelf or desk or whatever that brings
Do you
the
design
warmth.
furniture too?
Sometimes you do, yes, absolutely. So,
Helena, we should talk after the show. I think that's fascinating.
absolutely.
What has been your toughest project so far in the 11 years, do you
In
think?
11 years, that's a good question.
I wanted them all to be good.
I've had a lot of luck in terms of having very good clients that I get along, and sometimes it's so important for the team with the contractor and the client to work well.
Now, do you give the client the contractor's selection, or is that your job?
Both ways. I'm happy to suggest contractors that I work with before and that working currently, but a lot of times the clients have heard of other contractors.
So you're not going to tell us about your toughest one? That's very
I
diplomatic.
have to think about that one. No, but I'm serious.
No, that's fine.
There's one project that it was in Jenner in Sonoma County, kind
I
of
know
north
Jenner.
of Bodega.
Hip.
Yes.
It used to be very hip.
Oh my God, yes, it's totally hip. And it's 3 hours away. So I had to
Oy.
go during construction, I had to go every other week.
Wow, that is tough.
In one day coming back. So that was a tough, but the project was amazing. It was a pool house overlooking the ocean with a wonderful client.
Well, I think that's great. Now tell me, on the other side of the coin, did you have to fire anybody? The architects, can they say, I can't do this anymore?
You know what? You mean fire clients?
Yes. No.
No, I haven't. So,
Good.
yes.
But
So.
I guess I'm dealing on the interpersonal end because you have nobody to say, this isn't working for me.
Exactly.
Let me have you work with Bill.
Yeah.
The firm wouldn't lose the business,
Yeah.
but in an independent person, you would.
You would, and sometimes you do. Sometimes, and it's totally okay. Sometimes you don't see you don't have the same vision as
Right.
a client. So it's totally okay to try a person.
I think we have another caller. Excuse me, just
Sure.
Kathleen. This is Dr. Business. How can I help you?
Hi. I was wondering what made you want to start working from home? Like, what inspired you to stop working in an office and start your own business?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm anxious to hear the answer myself.
I think the number one reason was looking for flexibility between home.
Time flexibility,
Time
creative flexibility, or what? Or both?
Both, but mostly in terms of times of managing home and work. So that was kind of the
But
determining
you
factor.
always worked full time, so you worked a good 40 hours a week. It's just where you put it.
Exactly, and when you do it, and one day you work less, one day you work more, one day you work all night. So
Would you say there are more, Kathleen, I'm going to build on your great question. Would you say that more women working at home than men because of the more traditional roles that are established? I never thought about that.
absolutely, absolutely, and they're all this, just like in all other fields. There's a very, in schools, there's like 50% of women and men. But when you get to kind of the principal level, it's 20% of women. And I think it's largely just because the amount of time you need to put in it, and just
Well,
you have
I was
to.
in HR, and all of the women were in the managerial director roles, but the vice presidents
Well,
were the guys.
exactly.
Now, Kathleen, did that answer your question satisfactorily?
Yeah, it did. Thank you so
You
much.
want to add anything else while you're on the air? We've got you a captive audience now.
Oh, no, you guys covered it all. Thank you.
Thank you, and happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you, too.
Take care. I think the thing I want to ask next,
Mm-hmm.
and to build on Kathleen, if someone came to you and said, I'm thinking of working independently, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that if they love what they do, to do it.
And even in the beginning of their career, or no?
Well, no, I think it's a very good idea to have some experience in an office before. You could do it from the beginning, but I think the learning curve, you're going to have to find out all the solutions by yourself and how things
Also,
work.
I think, and I may be wrong, I had a young friend of mine left law school
Mm-hmm.
and went to work independently. He had a terrible time earning a living. He wasn't able to have underneath his belt large company experience, and you've got tons of it.
Exactly. Well, the thing is too that to work at home, and if you have your own small business, you don't not only have to be good in what you do, but you have to be a good in finances, and you have to maintain your accounting.
Now,
and
did you take all these classes? Did you take a class in,
No, I
did you set a business plan? Did you do any of that? You
Yes,
did.
I did. I did.
Okay,
I
good.
did. Yes. But I didn't take classes. But I think it's pretty. You learn even working in an office before. You're exposed to that in the way invoicing works, and
Well, the reason I'm asking is many of my friends that are creative,
mm-hmm.
that part of them is not developed.
I
They
know.
don't like to balance.
I
They're
know.
very free form.
Exactly.
And they would not keep a good accounts receivable
I
books.
know, and that happens as well. But you know what? I think that one thing about architecture too is that it has many sections of it. It has a very creative part, but it also has a technical part, and it has a project management. So I think you have to be good at many things.
Well, one of the
So.
things we didn't prep for is the concept of management skills.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to expand your business? Do you want to take more people in? Then you're going to end up becoming like your old office.
I know. Well, well, not quite, but it's the point that I'm at right now,
Oh.
and kind of deciding what to do. I've managed to have some drafters or other architects help me, kind of remotely. They're in their houses, but I have enough work to kind of
keep you-
expand.
Okay.
So I'm trying to decide that. So what do I want to do?
Well, I'm hoping this show will help you, and maybe someone will be able to give you more advice. We have about 3 or 4 minutes left, and I think I'll do my chore and asking for one more question if we can squeeze it in. The phone number here is 650-856-1491. I'm Roy Blitzer here with my delightful female architect, Helena Barrios Vincent, who works out of her home and is talking about the life that she has created for herself. Let me ask one other interesting kind of thought. Do you think that the skills that you have as an architect transfer over to working independently? In other words, do you think there's any difference in the output?
No, I think they do, absolutely. Just because you have to be a good architect, you have to be a good project manager and know how to get organized. And I think that's essential if you work at home too. If you wanna be profitable and have a living.
I want you to be profitable.
Yes, exactly. So yeah.
Now let me ask another question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do all your own pricing? You do everything yourself?
I do.
Fascinating.
I do.
Without any you did work in an office, but you
Yeah.
had no previous training in this.
No, but I think you learn it very fast. And if you work, usually if you work in a large firm, it's more divided, the kind of work you do, and you do only one section of it. You do the design.
Oh, I see. You do the windows or something.
Well, sort of, yes, exactly. That's a good analogy. But so you do one single thing. And as the smaller the
It's like
firm gets.
Michelangelo, he designed it and the rest of them painted in.
Exactly, you have people.
Right.
So, but if you have the smaller the office, you have to have more skills, to more diverse skills. So.
Would you have done this any sooner in your career? You wish you had done it earlier?
No, I think what I learned before, how much I got to travel too.
All right.
I'm happy I did it like that. I had a good experience starting in a very large firm, medium firm, and then decided to go on my own.
Well, I spent a lot of my professional HR career doing modeling. Do you think your kids will end up working independently? Do you think they'll join large firms? I'm fascinated to see if the example that they've seen would encourage them to go one way or another.
I just hope they graduate.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
So if we do that, then yes, hopefully, I don't know. I think it is important to give an example. It's an option. It's you're showing them. My husband works at Stanford.
More traditional.
Exactly, so it's good to expose them to show them that both things can work.
Well, I want to wish them good luck. We have about 30 seconds left. I want to thank my crew, who were absolutely delightful this evening, as they are every month. I want to wish everyone a very happy holiday. Despite the craziness in the world, we have a lot to be thankful for. I want to remind everyone that we're back on the air on Thursday, January 17th. I'm toying with the idea of running a new series on people who have long commutes. And you're welcome to dial that number at the station if you know anyone who spends a lot of time either on Caltrains or a car. I want to thank you. It was delightful.
Thank you, Roy.
If I needed anything redone, I'd call you in a minute.
Absolutely, I'm here.
Happy holidays and good evening.